Hey, podcast friends and friends of Two Crones with a Mic. Welcome back. We're so happy to have you back. Today will be an interesting topic. We'll talk about patterns and programs. So that's something that we'll probably go deep into that because we have a lot to talk about. So, but as usual, our beautiful Indira is here for our grounding meditation.
Thank you. Let us take a moment, if it is safe for you to do so, to close or lower your eyes. Take a nice, deep, cleansing breath and release it. We pay attention to that breath. That is spirit. That breath reminds us that spirit is within us at all times. It is our inspiration. So we follow that breath when times get tough, when we become aware of difficult situations, we return to the breath and we breathe as deeply and as long as we need to remind our bodies that we are safe, that we are secure, that we are okay. And as we move into the very difficult topic of programs and patterns, we recognize that we may encounter resistance. And as we find our minds scrambling to resist what we may be experiencing, we return to breath. And we return to that deep, long, stable breath that reminds us that we are not alone, that we are supported, that we are loved, and we are safe. One more nice deep inhale. Hold it and exhale slowly. And so it is.
So it is. Patterns and programs. That's a
Patterns
lot.
and programs. It is a lot. And what's so interesting is I actually have a quote. You quoted this when we sat down. We were going over what do we want to talk about on our podcast, and I've got my notes right here.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we were talking about the kind of difficulties of being a woman of a certain age, right? And we talked about the double standards of beauty, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. And you said, and I quote this: "We don't even know the programs that we are following." And I wrote this down, and because I was like, absolutely right. She is absolutely right. Like I need to know this. And so I will tell you guys, I'm going to tell you a story and then we're going to go to, because this explains it.
Yeah.
I was texting you one
Mhm.
day a couple weeks ago, and I said something, and you said, learning to say no as a woman is one of the biggest programs that we have to deprogram ourselves from, because we have been
Yeah.
taught not to say no. We've been programmed, that was particularly in the Western world. I don't know.
Okay, good.
So I don't know if you remember, but it was a couple weeks ago, and I'm going through a big, like a big shedding of aspects in my life. And I texted you, and I had said, I think I've made the decision to stop doing such and such. And you
Mhm.
said, well done. No is one of the biggest programs that women have to deprogram themselves from, saying no. And I was like, whoa, like it hit me. I had a really, like, it went really deep inside of me,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
no was, that saying yes always
Yeah.
was programmed in me.
Yeah. To please
And
people.
Yes, to please people. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Saying yes, yes, I can do this. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll if that will make you happy, And I know
Oh,
that
sure.
as
Let me do this for you, and
mhm.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that as mothers, because I'm not a mom, but I know moms do that a lot with their children,
Hmm.
which I think is great. I mean, it's nice when a mom says yes, but
Yeah.
it's it was really weird to me to realize how much I do that
Hmm.
in society.
Yeah.
I had asked for a pay raise one time at a job, and they said, "Well, we need to get other people up to the level, like, we pay people embarrassingly low salaries. We need to get people up to a certain level." And always wanting to be the team player. I was like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll sacrifice myself. It'll be
Sure.
okay."
Because you don't want to
You know
stir the pot. You don't want to be
exactly.
the troublemaker.
Exactly. So that was a huge realization of the programs. So when you said that, I was like, I wonder what other programs that we
Hmm.
follow. And so here's a big one, and that is the double standard of
Hmm.
aging between men and women.
Yeah. We just accept it as that's what it is.
We
No
do.
question asked.
Yeah.
You know.
Men are handsome when they're older. They're distinguished.
Yeah.
It's distinguished when a man develops their
Salt and
grays right
pepper.
here.
Yeah.
Yes. But boy, a woman now lately, I will say that the gray and the white hair has become a little more um, fashion centric, but kind of on younger women, actually. Younger women are doing like the white
They
and the
had to bring
grays.
it out.
They did,
They
yeah.
started it, so it's like now it's cool to have
Yeah,
it. You know.
exactly, exactly. So it got me thinking about so there's the term cougar, right? And you
Hmm.
and I have we've had the conversation. I'm
Yeah,
technically
we
a,
did.
a cougar.
Yeah,
S-
you are a bad girl.
Technically, my husband is 16 years younger than I am, and technically I am a cougar. And yet that phrase, that word absolutely just ticks him off. He's like, our age has nothing to do with our relationship. It
Right.
is heart to heart, soul to soul. But in society, the programming that we have, that we are actually starting to crack into, but
Hmm.
we don't have a lot of answers for. Still, we don't have a lot of answers for. Like, somebody said to
No.
me the other day, "Why do you think people look at you and your husband and feel like that's weird, that
Yeah.
you're older and he's younger?" And I'm like,
Don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why we've been programmed that way. And the phrase, so this is what's really interesting. The phrase for a man who is older, because that's kind of normal. We've
Hmm.
normalized
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's called the manther.
It's kind of a weird word, really. It is weird.
It is so bad. The manther. Um, and you and I had talked about the the double standard, particularly around Cary Grant.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
The Cary Grant situation. So Cary Grant was always, for those of you that are not our age that are listening, Cary Grant was a very famous actor from basically like the 30s, I think, maybe even the 20s, all the way into like the 60s or 70s, and he had a very distinguished voice. He had a particular lilt to his
Hmm.
voice. He was a very, very handsome. They've actually come out with a new movie about him that I haven't watched yet. But towards the end of his career, they continued to cast him next to women that were 20, 30, 40 years younger than he was.
Yeah.
And it was starting to bother him. It was actually starting to bother him. And so he requested that he not be the pursuer in some of those relationships, that they have the woman pursue him. So there's a movie from, I think it's like 1968. It's called Charade. And it is with he and Audrey Hepburn. And Audrey Hepburn was late 20s, early 30s, and he was in his 60s. And she does pursue him through the entire thing until finally the end when he asks her to marry him. But it would have been very brazen for the time for a younger woman to pursue an older man, but he was
Yeah.
getting tired of being typecast as the creepy old guy who always went towards younger women. That was his biggest issue. And I totally, totally get that. And at the same time, this programming, it says something about how we perceive a person's appearance versus how we perceive their heart and soul and what they have to offer.
I have to
Because
think about that. Yeah.
it really is about the fact that I have gray hair and wrinkles, and I have been on
Hmm.
this earth for 16 years longer than my husband.
Yeah. You don't
And no
have gray
matter
hair.
oh, I do have gray hair. Actually, I have it growing. It's really bad right where these earphones are. So for all of you women who have like the gray hair on the sides,
These
earphones.
earphones are perfect. Perfect.
Nobody will ever know that you got the gray hair growing in. And I purposely like lightened this because this is my streak, right? Oh, wrong
Uh-huh.
side.
Uh-huh.
But that is my streak. I'm trying to like look at myself in the mirror now. But yeah, so this is a streak of gray, and I've lightened it so it actually looks like, like a
Like
streak.
it's
So
meant to be.
like it's meant to be. Yeah. But I know that, that when we are with other people who don't know us, they are looking at him, first of all, like, how could you possibly be with a
Mhm.
woman who is so much older? And let's if we're going to do this, let's also talk about the weight aspect, right? We'll see a very fit man with a very
Mhm.
heavy woman, and we'll wonder
Oh, yeah.
what what in
What
the
does he see
world,
in her?
what is
What does
he
he want
seeing
with
her?
her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When my husband met me, I was 50 pounds heavier. I still have another like 90 pounds to go. I was 50 pounds heavier. He is very fit. He's in very, very good shape, but he's literally interested in my heart, mind, and soul, not my body, my age, my
Mhm.
any of that. And it's those rare men that are that way. I
Yeah.
don't have money. He didn't marry me for my money.
Yeah.
It's not. That's
Damn
one of
it.
those it's one of those common misconceptions though. Oh, she must have a lot of money. She must be
Yeah.
giving him a lot
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. I'm a minister, for crying out loud. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a ton
Well,
of money. So yeah.
but it
So what are
takes
your thoughts?
well, it takes a mature soul. I mean, on the men's side. I mean, I know your husband, and I can honestly say that he's very down to earth. I mean, I would not be able to say or tell that he's younger than you. He's definitely an old soul.
He
Okay.
is
And
an old soul.
so
Yeah.
that's what it takes. Somebody who, and it doesn't have to be an old soul or somebody who's very spiritually evolved. It just needs to be a good person who just wants to get to know the other person for who they are deep down or inside and not what it looks like on the outside. That's
Yeah.
all it takes.
But it does go to that. It speaks to that programming, doesn't it? It speaks
It
to that
does.
programming
It
that we
does.
are so concerned about what people look like on the outside, and we will cast all of these really judgmental,
Yeah.
aspersions on them, like this. Oh well, she must have money, or I was watching. It's a they're influencers. She's very overweight, and he is super fit, and they said, "Oh, you guys must have met when you were thinner."
Hmm. I think
That's
I've
what they'll
seen that.
say to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, he pursued me." And she said, and I questioned it, which is what I did too, right? Like she said, I kept questioning him, like, why do you want to be with me? I don't understand. Do you want to make fun of me? Because,
Hmm.
morbidly obese women often are the butts of jokes and things like that. And he was like, "No, I'm actually really, really in love with you." And other women will come up and try to hit on him in front of her.
Wow.
He's not interested. It's this weird programming about our looks. And yet we have these sayings in the Western world. You can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. But well,
But do we follow that ever?
no, probably not.
Yeah. It's
I
one
don't
of
think
those
so.
things we absolutely have to deprogram. And the thing is when we deprogram it, we are going to get hit with a whole lot of judgment from other people because we are so programmed to, once you start saying, well, maybe it's not what you think it is,
It's
that
almost like
people
we're
will come.
yeah, we're programmed to stay programmed, because we can't,
Yes.
I mean, it's like once we break out, I mean, what would they do? And by they, I mean, what, the 1% or the people who actually rule this, not just this society, but all over the world, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. They need us to stay in those neat little
Yeah,
boxes, and they need us to believe the worst about people
exactly.
as opposed to the best about people.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we're easy to conquer when we're divided amongst ourselves.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what's interesting is, you and I brought it up just for the perspective of the age thing and the
Mhm.
beauty thing, but when we think about this, I mean, that's part of where we start. That's part of where we start to divide ourselves.
Yeah.
Is we look at people and we say, "Well, you look funny. You don't
Mhm.
look like somebody I would be friends with." So I have a dear friend who is, she has often questioned her sexual orientation.
Mhm.
And so she at first she thought she was straight, and then she thought she was bisexual, and now she's definitely leaning more towards being a lesbian. And she actually has had people look at her and say, "But you don't look like a lesbian."
It's so weird.
And she's like, "What am I supposed to, this is my face."
Yeah, I
And
can't change that.
and I like to wear makeup, because it makes me feel pretty.
Mhm.
And she's like, "And I like to wear dresses because they're comfortable,
Mhm.
and I can't help it if I don't look lesbian enough for you." And that's really kind of where she is, and it's frustrating. And people are like, "Well, you don't look young enough to be with him, or you don't look thin enough to be with him." Well, I can't change how many years I have on my face.
That is exhausting. This is all so exhausting, when people are like
It's
that. It's just but, I think when you're young, that's all you know. That's all you know, and it really takes life experience that you come to a point, and at some point you say, "You know what?" And I'm gonna say a bad word, so everybody, you know,
bad language
cover
word
your ears, but
incoming.
it's like, "Fuck it. I just don't wanna do it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
out," I just
Yeah.
do what I want.
Yeah.
And so, like, you have to I mean, once you step out of these programs, God, this is mind-blowingly freeing, and so, I mean, it's just like you break the chains. You break the chains, and you're just, like, finally yourself, and you do what, I mean, feeds your soul, not just your body, and you don't just do what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, like going to work and going home, and this, like, work, eat, sleep, entertainment kind of program,
Pay
you know?
taxes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
just so freeing to say, "You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm gonna do me."
Yeah.
This is so liberating. It's amazing.
Yeah. You bring that up because as you bring that up, I think, my gosh, I'm going back to the quote you said, we don't even know the programs that we are following. We mentioned some of the more obvious ones, the
Yeah.
age, the weight, the gender, that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
Um, and at the beginning, I mentioned the no, the no programming.
mhm.
Um, but my goodness, what is all the programming? I got to thinking about when I was a teenager, how I learned about the rest of the world was by buying fashion magazines.
Oh gosh. But
And
that
fashion,
was all we had.
yeah, and
I
fashion
mean,
magazines
yeah.
and magazines themselves, that's part of what programs us. The TV shows we watch,
Mhm,
where they show us what a beautiful person is supposed to look like, or
yeah.
what, an ugly person is supposed to look like. The Elephant Man. I always think about the
Mhm,
Elephant Man,
mhm,
and when we think about ugly, because he was so shocking, and the people who are made fun of on particular shows,
mhm.
and the butts of jokes and all of that. It's my goodness, that programming runs deep. And spoiler alert, we're probably going to be speaking about programs for the rest of the time that we're on here in some way or another, because you and I, me more, probably more so than you right now. I'm going through this massive shedding of stuff in my life. I and you know this because we just had the talk a few minutes ago. But I walked in and I was like, I realized that the reason I made this decision, and it was a huge decision, it was an expensive decision. I paid a lot of money to make this decision and to move forward, was because I just wanted to be accepted by a particular group of people. And that was such a deep trauma response that is programmed
Mm-hmm.
into me, that
Mm-hmm.
if I do this and I have this title, then these people will be nice to me.
Yep. Yep.
And I was like, and as you said, it's exhausting. And I'm doing this like weekly right now. And one of my friends said, you might be in your midlife crisis.
Hmm.
And I said, great.
But maybe it's not the midlife crisis. Maybe that's the point where you say, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah. And I think that is the crisis, that when I start looking at everything and I'm like, oh God, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. But then my life just feels like it's all in shambles,
Yes.
and it's already, like you and I talked about this, it's a weird planetary thing right now,
It
and we're
is.
exhausted.
I'm
And
tired and
then we're,
exhausted. I have
yeah.
no
And
energy. I'm just like, I love my couch. I really do.
exactly. Well, and that's kind of the thing right now. It really is kind of the thing. They talk about the planetary alignments and the 8 year. This is the year that we really begin to. Oh, and it's something about Aquarius, and I can't remember, Pluto and Aquarius and something. But this is the year when we really. My necklace just came off. Um, so weird.
You're
This
literally
is.
falling apart.
I'm literally falling apart in this right now in this moment. But this is the year when we begin to uncover all of the shadow
Yeah.
and start to analyze it and bring it out into the light, and we start to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
We release that shadow. So part of that shadow is those double standards of, well, what's good for this group isn't necessarily good for this group. Older women are still, now it's getting better. Like I'm very proud of the book club. The book club was a movie that came, Jane Fonda and trying to remember everybody, Diane Keaton. That was a really great group. And then there was another one, which was the 80 for Brady. Like there's some fun older women movies out there. And yes, in them, they are also um, being pursued by prospective sexual partners, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, or pursuing them themselves, but they're all age appropriate. Interestingly
Mm-hmm.
enough, they are
Mm-hmm.
age appropriate. I don't think they wanted to continue that.
Yeah.
um and that's the thing, is I think that phrase age appropriate is where we are. Is it age appropriate for a 52-year-old woman to be married to a 36-year-old man? Is that age appropriate? And that is exactly the situation I'm in.
Well, it is for
Or
you.
it is for me. Yeah.
It is for you. If it works for
Yeah.
you, then forget it. Screw it. I mean, it's your
Yeah.
life. You do you.
So we're both adults, we're both consenting. But yeah,
Exactly.
going back to the older woman, starting to look more vital and vibrant and beautiful and passionate, and sexual. But it's taking a long time to get us there.
It took a long time. I do notice though when I look at magazines in the store when I'm in the checkout line, you see like more, not the skinny people on the cover of the magazine. They're really bringing out more, like, first of all, older women, but also women who have every kind of body shape. I mean, it's really, even Victoria's Secret, I noticed, has now models that are not, I don't even know how to describe it, but who are like women,
Normal,
regular,
normal, normal
regular
women.
women, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of all the movers and the shakers who demand change, you
Yeah.
know?
who are helping us deprogram
Yeah.
from the programs that we have
Reprogram.
accepted.
Yes.
And I don't know that I don't know that we'll ever get, like, as an individual human being, like, I don't know that I will ever get to that place where I'm completely deprogrammed from all the programs, because as you so eloquently said, we don't even know the
Mhm.
programs that we are following.
Yeah.
But as they come up, um, the work of surrender, the work
Mhm.
of realization, the work of taking it apart, looking at it, analyzing it, turning it upside
Yeah.
down, all of that is our work. So, and because as we shed those programs, those
Yeah.
patterns, those expectations, that gives us the energy to be more vital and more vibrant. Because I feel
Yeah.
like, don't you feel like the programs are what keep us down?
Yeah. But it's also, I think most programs are designed to keep us occupied from what's really going on,
Mhm.
and keep us in that state
Distracted.
of, yeah, distracted, and keep us in that state of fear, because for a long time, I think, I mean, I didn't even realize, but I was like, well, if I don't do that, then what's going to happen? And the answer is nothing. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad's going to happen if you let it go. You just let it go, and then, wow, nope, there's no police coming and reinforcing it anymore. It's just
Yeah.
like, this is an unfounded state of fear that you live in, that when you let those programs go, whatever that may be for you, that something bad's going to happen,
Mhm.
because it's not.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing. You're free. You're free to
Yeah.
be yourself.
I feel like the distractions, going back, you were saying, like,
Yeah.
they're meant to keep us distracted.
Yeah.
It's just distractions that wear us out because they're dramas.
The dramas. Yes.
They're dramas. And so we're, you and I were talking a little bit ago, we're so soul weary right now because there's so much drama. And I've been caught up in it at work. I've been, caught up in it in my own life. And we're
Mhm.
just exhausted. We're soul
It's
weary.
exhausting.
But
It's
when
ex-
we stop buying into the programs and the drama that goes with the programs,
mhm.
then we're no longer distracted and we're no longer caught up in the drama.
And that's when you become aware. You
Yeah.
you wake up. That's the point. That's the time when you wake up
Yeah. And
and you
that's when you
become
start to feel alive, awake.
alive,
Yeah.
awake, present.
Vital,
Yeah.
vibrant, energized. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
So
that's powerful.
it is. And we're going to be talking about programs and patterns throughout the rest of this. We're going to have to. They're real.
They're
And
real.
and and I'm constantly uncovering mine, and I'm willing to share that.
Yeah. But I guess some people would ask, how do you recognize a program and how do you break it? So I guess
That's a good question.
that's a good question. How to break it is easy, because once you recognize you're following this program, you just stop doing it. I know it sounds easy, but it really is that easy. But it's like, how do you recognize that you're actually following a program that no longer works for you? Maybe because you're unhappy, you're not content, you're depressed, you have
Mhm.
anxiety, maybe all of those things. You
I
know?
think, going back to that text I sent you a couple weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and I said I woke up and I realized that I chose to do this, um, because I was pleasing people.
Hmm.
It was just, and because I had to go into, why did I make this decision? From what place inside of me? And it was, did I make it because I wanted to do it? I really didn't want to do it. Did I make it because I was excited to? No. I did it in part because it was comfortable.
Hmm.
And that's not always a great place to make a decision
No.
from. But the big realization was that I did it because of how I was programmed to be a yes person. And if I want, and in my mind and how I was raised, if I want people to love and accept me, then I have to speak their language. I have to mold myself into fitting
Oh,
into their world.
interesting.
And that is a chameleon, right? And I'm not a chameleon.
Hmm.
And but yeah, And then when I said, gosh, I'm going to have to say no to this instead of yes, I'm going to have to change my mind to no. And you said, learning the no learning to say no is the biggest deprogramming you're going to do.
Yeah, it is. But you took that step, right?
I did. Yeah.
Good. How does it feel?
I'm so exhausted.
Scary. You're
I
still
don't know.
recovering, though. You're still recovering.
I am. Yeah, because this has been 52 years of learning
Program.
to make myself into what others needed me to be.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah.
Well,
There it
I guess
is.
healing is part of breaking the pattern. It's healing
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, it is. And right now is a really good time to do it. It's winter here.
Mhm,
Um, I don't have a lot going on in the evening, so I can rest a little bit
mhm.
more. I can sit in meditation and silence. I can go hug a tree on a nice day. I can do the things that take care of me as I do it. But yeah, um it's a lot when you discover why you've been doing what you've been doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
Well, good.
then yeah, so
Well,
mhm,
want to wrap
mhm.
up with a message and maybe revisit the patterns?
Oh,
The next one?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, do you have a card there?
I
I don't have
do.
my cards
Oh,
in
you don't
here, so
have
we'll
it?
do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do that big
Well,
message one at the end too.
mhm.
We'll record a message for the people who are on. Yeah, I left
Well,
my cards at home. I brought my laundry, but I didn't bring my cards.
that's okay.
Uh,
Well, Spirit, give us a message about
mhm.
programs. What do we or what does the audience need to know about programs?
Yeah,
Give us a message that somebody out there really needs to hear who's listening to this podcast. Okay.
absolutely.
Wow. So I got the star ancestor. Okay.
Oh,
And it says, follow your voice of your soul. So really that's what it boils down to. You know, the program, like we talked about, it just keeps us distracted from ourselves, literally.
mhm,
So when there's constantly messages and things going on in our head, we can't really listen to our higher self. And
mhm,
if we just step out of that for a moment, we can actually listen to ourselves and what our higher self has to say to us. So really, Spirit is trying to say, just calm down and just listen to what it is that's in your soul. What does your soul say to you? Okay,
right.
listen to your inner knowing and to your soul and let that guide you.
It's interesting you bring that up. This was I meet with a mentor, once a month, and she's my, shamanic mentor, and she reminded me, in shamanism, there's something called the Amakua, and the Amakua is that untouched part of our soul that knows nothing about trauma, that knows nothing about this earthly realm, and it holds that highest vibration of who we are. So calling in that connection to the Amakua, that highest source that does not understand programming and
Wow.
patterns and
Mhm.
trauma. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Good. Follow your souls. We didn't talk about patterns today, but let's do that in our next episode because that's a topic in itself.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
good.
All
Well,
right,
we'll
thanks
see you
everybody
next
for joining
time.
us.